I'd like to thank everyone for coming to the Harvey A. Dodd Retrospective Art Show and Sale. I have a sentiment from the former president of the Institute who worked with Harvey and knew him quite well. So I'm going to read what he had to say. He said, "Thank you to the Friends of Harvey Dodd for taking on the honorable task of saving Harvey's work from oblivion. He was a wonderful person and a devoted member of the Institute family. I hope that some of his work can be purchased or donated to the Institute for posterity and preservation. He was a model Institute student, always willing to participate, always a diligent and generous learner, and always a respectful colleague in and out of the studio. I purchased one of Harvey's self-portraits as part of a student exhibition at the Institute and proudly displayed it in my office while president of the Institute. Please let me know if there's a work of art left over from the exhibition and sale that I might be able to purchase for my private collection. Again, thank you and the rest of the Friends of Harvey Dodd for taking such a noble job. Harvey was a wonderful human being, and his kindness and gentlemanliness are in short supply in today's conflicted world. He is surely missed by all who knew him. My best to the Institute and community of artists and the Manchester City Library."
Harvey was a very talented person in many, many ways. And he was a talented photographer, and that's how I first got to make a good acquaintance with Harvey when he came in, because he had a Leica camera, 35mm, and I owned a Leica, and I think we were the only two that owned Leicas at one time. But he was smart, he was an excellent editor. As I said, he was an excellent photographer. He was just a pleasure to work with. Harvey was a super, super guy. And I'm very impressed with his artwork. I think he was very talented in his field. Very talented. Great guy.
What do you think you would say to him about his art if he were here?
Oh, I tell him, Harvey, Harvey, I think you did a good job. Very talented. It's quite an achievement to be able to draw. And I think the hardest thing is the human figure. That's the toughest thing they say, the toughest thing to paint.
I had Harvey in a lot of classes over a long period of time, and he was a terrific personality in the classes. He would engage the other students in conversation. He was charming, he was witty, he was generous, he was always helpful in, for example, materials. If someone had a brush, or if he had a brush that other people liked, he would make a big effort to go over to them and show them his brush, and talk about where to buy it and what size was good. It was really very relaxed and giving, which made him a wonderful student. There was another aspect to him, though, and that was, as a teacher, he was very frustrating. He would take a lot of my watercolor classes, and he would basically listen to me talk and then do not anything at all that I asked him to do. And I would give him an assignment, and he wouldn't do it. And he would kind of do it, and then he would bring it in and show me that he made a sort of an effort to do it, but then he would say he wasn't really interested in that at all, and he would go ahead and do whatever it was that he was more interested in doing. And it got to be a little game that we would play, and then I would go and I'd look at his pieces, and he'd put them up for me to critique, and I would realize that he wasn't going to listen to anything I said. In fact, he might react to it completely differently in opposition to whatever I said. So I was aware of that over the years, and it was, at first I felt like I was not a very good teacher, and I would think, gosh, what am I missing with a student? How am I not connecting with him, that he was not, I wasn't saying the right thing? And, as a teacher, I tried very desperately to sort of open communications and to speak to the person about what it is that's important to them. So when that was not working, I would drive home and I think, gosh, what can I say to Harvey that's going to connect with him, that can put us on the same page so that I can give him the most from the class? And he would keep coming back, and I realized that I must be doing something right, or else I must be telling good jokes, or at least he liked the other people in the classroom, and that's why he kept keep showing up. And we finally hit sort of resting place in our relationship when we would talk about art history. He was very excited about bringing in art historical books, and we would look at them together and talk about dates. And he would have a date, and I would have it, you know, about the lifespan of an artist. And he would say, "Oh, it was in 1838," and I would say, "Oh no, it was 1839." You know, and we'd get in this big debate, and he would go to the library and come back, and it would be 1838 and a half or something. You know, and that was usually where we would sort of get along the best. But he was a challenging student and a lot of fun.
I never actually talked to him, but I thought he was cute because he was so short, so he could get the best spot. Whether he got there last or first, he always had the best spot. He could go right up front and move around anywhere he wanted in front of anybody without blocking anyone's view. So that's the only class I had with him. So I thought he was a nice guy. He didn't talk. He was just stared at the model the whole time and did his thing and went home or wherever. So he was a nice man, but it's too bad I didn't get to know him very well.
Harvey was a very interesting man. He was a walking encyclopedia, and one of the things that he liked to do was frequent the Saturday morning life group, and he would paint some of these nudes, and he would use various styles which were exaggerated in some sense, and he did some of these things and then took them and would put them in color afterwards. And you can tell by looking at his representation was good enough that you can tell by looking at the models who they were. Like this was Heidi, and so is this, and this one over here was Gloria. So he was. In fact, I met Harvey at one of those groups, and then went to several classes with him. And he was always a person that you could go to when you needed a question answered about some artist. He would have it on the tip of his tongue, and even if it was some obscure artist. So I enjoyed very much his company and spent some time with him in his last days. And I think it's a great loss to our community and to our art world when we lost Harvey.
Harvey was a mountaineer long before any of us were, but he talked about it a lot. And one day he said, "You guys ever been to Tuckerman?" We never had. So we got a party up, and I think it was George's car. We went up there, and we climbed up way up into the ravine, and it was late afternoon, and they said, late, I mean at that time of year, 3 o'clock, the light was getting bad. And they said, everybody better head down. And I'd just gotten in, I was just putting my boots on, and I looked down, I said, maybe it's just as well I carried the skis down. Harvey in this picture is carrying the skis, but those are my skis. He figured I'd been lugging him a while.
He was so kind. He was always thinking about, he was so kind,
Yes,
he was always thinking about the other person in the picture.
Yeah.
You know, he
Never
was,
had a unkind word that I know to say of anyone.
I was wondering how you liked the show.
Oh, I thought it was wonderful. Yes, I've enjoyed looking at everything. The nudes are wonderful poses here. Some are really exceptional, very stylistic. I like what he does with the hair, very stylistic. I was happy that most of the other paintings have all sold, just about every one except 2. Very reasonable prices. I think that's marvelous, $25 each.
Did you ever see any of his artwork before today?
No. We didn't even know he did it.
We didn't even know?
I read one in the obituary, I guess it mentioned it.
Yeah.
Really impressed with the artwork that he's got up here today, I have to tell you. He's, we knew he was good, and I think that his figure drawing is way beyond what I thought he was doing.
just want to say that I'm really pleased that we were able to pull this exhibition off in such a rapid manner. I think it's remarkable. It was a true collaboration with Steph Hooper, Christine Fales, Sarah Zela, and myself. Harvey was a unique individual. He loved book learning, and he loved to share that kind of learning. The only thing Harvey couldn't share was himself. He was a stoic. Although our classes invited him many times to events and holidays, Harvey would always stay home. He was a true stoic, but never a martyr. When Harvey took sick, I knew how serious his prognosis was. Although he was terminally ill, Harvey never shared with us, his buddies, that he was about to die. He didn't fear death. No, it was a real inconvenience, but not something to burden his friends with. Harvey had a great sense of humor. He was funny, and at times we couldn't draw because we were laughing so hard. I know he truly loved his classes and his friendships that he made here at the Institute. It's the spirit of friendship that we celebrate tonight. Who among us thinks so highly of our neighbors in our community? Besides his fortune, Harvey left us with a legacy of knowledge, values, a deep and unending love and appreciation for the arts and the people in our community. Harvey would love the fact that everyone's making such a fuss about him. I remember suggesting to him to create more art and begin selling his work. Harvey replied quite angrily, "For what?" "For this, Harvey, so we can celebrate the joy you gave us every single day." Thank you so much for coming.